Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judges, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
I have received so many pleasures, so many very good to look at, whether you own them or not. It's a pleasure just to look at such presents. Why, I have never witnessed so many presents. I think I have to build me a house for presents. This shows what Allah can do for you and me if we believe in Him.
There is nothing that we could not accomplish in the name of God. You know what your problem is? You don't have even a worthy goal to strive after. I'm going to give you an assignment today. Here's an assignment. Is there something you want? Do you want something? Something that you want, but you have not been able to get it? Huh? Close your eyes. Do you see it? Whatever it is that you want, first envision it. You got the picture. Do you see it? All right, now the question is, you have to claim what you see. I claim this. I claim it. I believe with all my heart in the name of God that I'll bring what is in my imagination into reality. We're going to bring it back like it never was. I see in the dome the name Allah written in Arabic. But I can't just dream. I got to go to work. How do you bring it into concrete reality? First, without faith, you can't work the vision.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome, everyone, to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talk series on the proper handling of people. And yes, don't forget to like and subscribe. How y'all doing? Happy Saturday. Happy. I got me some chai tea this morning. I see y'all in the chat already. So welcome. I got to give you all the announcements first because then I got to shift gears mentally and I want to be able to do that. So tomorrow, don't forget the Table Talks Live, Sajdah House, NOI Archive conversation about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as the father of Black consciousness. That's tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Central Time. If you forget, there's a flyer in my social media feeds, and you can check that out. Don't forget, if you've been a member of the show, if you're already a member of the directory, go out there and check out some of the new updates that we've made to the site. Excuse me. Some of you all have been there. Some of you have been guests. And so we've added your show to your profile. So support Black Muslim businesses. Help us to build this economy. Get involved. We've got some things happening very, very soon. We want to support our Detroit Muslim businesses for our upcoming Savior's Day. You guys are the wonderful host city for the upcoming historic event, the crowning event of Black History Month. And so we want to support Detroit businesses. So we want to highlight you here on the show. So we got time between now and February to get as many of you in as possible. So send us an email, blackmuslimbusinesses@gmail.com. Again, that video is posted here as well. And we got 24% off on everything, all of our retail items on the Sajdah House page. So just go to sajdahhouse.com. You can go to my Facebook page, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and see some of the different items and click right on it and purchase. And so we need your support. All right. So welcome, Brother Lamont. Wa alaikum salam. Welcome, Mom. Welcome, Magnolia Crescent is up and on it this morning. Wa alaikum salam. Sister Betty, welcome. brother, I know this is Brother Anthony. No, it might be Sister Karima. We Cash App and dapped you today. Okay, I appreciate the Cash App and dap. Sure appreciate it. Thanks, Mom. She says she likes the intro. Brother Victor is here. Wa alaikum salam. I see y'all this morning. Grand Rising, Sister Sandra. She said, happy 11/11 Saturday. Oh, I like that. Love those numbers. Regional Sky Girl. All right, she's on a delayed flight. She's going to check us out. She's greeting us from her jump seat. So what we're going to do is we're going to hurry up and get into this. So before Regional Sky Girl has to take off. And Sister Aletha, welcome. Wa alaikum salam. I see some others of you here, but you're not in the chat. And that's okay too. All right. So thank you for being consistent with me. If you know anything, the way my brain works, the way my commitment works, I'm a very consistent person. That's one thing about me. I'm going to keep pounding away at it. I believe in putting stuff in the pipeline and then just watching it go. I'm not one of those add water and stir people, even though I love to add water and stir and get an instant product. Sometimes you pay for what you get when you add water and stir. All right. So this is episode 9 of the proper handling of people. This chapter talks about detecting personality quirks and the 4 steps of teamwork. One of the things I want to talk about is one of the challenges that we often have as entrepreneurs is how to select good people. Some of us think that we can select anybody and then just kind of bullying them into doing the job. Some of us say, you know what, it don't matter, just come on. And then we just think, we got such a great system. But there's a way in which a lot of us, especially as we get a little more sophisticated, we can confuse experience potential with performance potential. And that happens to us a lot in interviews. A lot of us interview and we look at the resume and we're looking at the experience. Oh, they've got 10 years as a restaurant manager, and I'm looking for a restaurant manager. They at one time was a hostess. They at one time was a waiter or a waitress. And that can be good because that means that they know all aspects. They may know the front of the house and the back of the house. In some more technical fields, in business and IT, in healthcare, it's a great example to use. Oftentimes, we make the mistake of hiring people for experience and not for performance. So we get this top person with this great resume, and they graduated from college and they went to medical school and they graduated from a certain type of medical school, and then they come in and they can't perform. Happens to a lot of our children. They go to these great schools and get these great grades, and they get out and get into the world and they really can't perform, and forget opening a business because they can barely check the job boxes. So what I want to talk about today is a tool, an interviewing tool. When I interview, a lot of times companies have hired me to do some of their interviewing for them, to help do the assessments. I used to do Genos assessments, which was personality testing that kind of incorporates emotional intelligence. I don't do that anymore, but I used to do that for people, for potential leaders in their company. And one method that you can use is the STAR method to interview. And I use a lot of behavioral interviewing techniques. So I want to show you a quick 5 or 6 minute video on the STAR method of interviewing that will help you to suss out more than just experience. Don't get so excited just because a person has great experience. I've hired a great employee that had less experience than and had a better outcome than somebody with a lot of experience. Now, let me say this. Of course, there's some jobs, especially like in healthcare, where you got to have certain certifications or certain qualifications in order to be compliant from a regulatory standpoint. That we can't get around, but we can still make sure we employ the STAR method when we're interviewing so we can suss out some of these personality traits that we're going to talk about here in episode 9 of the proper handling of people. So let me bring this in. I'm going to take myself off of the screen and let you guys check this out.
need to be long or
Okay,
complicated.
so I
It doesn't
came
need to be
back
life or
because
death.
some of
It
you
just
are
needs to show
saying
you
you
thinking.
could hear it, and some of you are saying that you could not hear it. I'm happy to, I really, really want you guys to hear this. So I'm going to try again. If you could not hear it, I apologize. And I'm going to, let's start it over because I think this is important. All right, we're going to do that. Okay, I see Magnolia Crescent said they could hear it, but it looks like a lot of other people were saying that they could not. I saw Sister Aletha said she could not. I saw a couple other people. So let's try this again. All right. Because I really want you guys to hear this because it's good if you're interviewing and it's good if you're the interview. Let me say it this way. If you're the interviewer or the interviewee, it's good on both sides of the coin. Okay, so let's get this again and give me a thumbs up in the chat if you.
What is the STAR method? In this video, I want to explain in simple terms what the STAR method is, sometimes called the STAR technique, and how you can use it to massively boost your chances of getting hired. And I will include a solid example for you. I'm Amri Celeste, an interview coach and HR recruitment specialist with over 10 years hiring experience, and I make videos on how to help you secure the job that you want. So do like and subscribe if you are job hunting. So first, what is the STAR interview method? STAR is an acronym for Situation, Task, Action, Result. And the STAR method is a framework that you can use to structure your answer. So let's say you were in an interview and you were asked a question like, can you talk me through a time when you faced a challenge at work? You would answer this question by sharing an example of a challenging situation at work, and you would describe the challenging situation that occurred, the task that was created due to the challenging situation, the actions you took, and the result or the outcome. And if you're feeling very confident, then you can also talk about learnings, which essentially means you would explain what you learned and what you might do differently next time. But this is the STAR method in simple terms. Why does it boost your chances? When you use the STAR method, it is 10 times easier for the interviewer to imagine you in that situation, rather than you just saying to them, I'm good at challenges, take my word for it. You're essentially describing a situation that allows the interviewer to imagine you and see you in that situation themselves. And it often beats a long, boring explanation that doesn't even hit all of the points that the interviewer is looking for. So the STAR method is absolutely key. What you should not do. What you don't want to do is give an answer that describes how you would potentially handle a situation or ramble on at length about a particular situation without explaining how you resolved or handled it. So I'll share an example answer so you can see how it works in action. So your interviewer asks you, can you talk me through a challenge or difficult situation you had at work? An example answer using the STAR interview method would be, as a receptionist, I book in lots of visitors for meetings. One day I had a visitor turn up for a quarterly meeting with a director, but I knew that I hadn't seen that director come into work that day and he hadn't responded to my email about the visitor's arrival. I also got no response when calling his desk phone and mobile. As the meeting was starting in 5 minutes, I decided to call through to someone else in that department who advised me that due to a last-minute family emergency, he was not in the office that day. I asked if they knew anyone else that would be able to meet with this visitor, and they pointed me in the direction of another colleague who was able to meet with the visitor and cover off the meeting on the manager's behalf. So a nice short explanation. The answer doesn't need to be long or complicated. It doesn't need to be life or death. It just needs to show you thinking your way out of a challenging situation, even if it's a simple one. And do let me know in the comments if you found that example answer helpful. I'd love to know the verdict on whether my explanation is helping you to understand the STAR interview method a little bit better. If you do struggle with solid answers to interview questions, you can grab this top 20 interview answers guide that I created. It's packed with example answers for your interview, including answers to difficult questions like, why should we give you the job? What's your greatest weakness? How do you handle pressure at work? All of those tough questions. And it also includes what you should be asking your interviewers at the end of your interview. So it's totally free and you can download that in the link in the description below.
All right, y'all. So I wanted to play that because oftentimes we think of an interview where we think about, let me go in and convince that person that I need this job. And then the interviewer is saying, let me go in and see if they have the experience or qualifications to do that particular job. That's short-sighted, because what you want to look at is the personality trait. So you may have a very experienced person, but if they walk down the hall and walk past other people, are they going to speak to them? Are they the type of person who would just walk past trash on the floor in your business? That's a personality trait and not an experience trait. Are they somebody that if they see something wrong, that they're going to say something? Or are they just going to walk right past it? So that takes us into Detecting Personality Traits, episode 9 or chapter 9 of the proper handling of people. And so what you want to understand is that person's emotional or personality makeup and know when it's going to show up. So using that STAR method, the situation, the task, the action, the results is going to help you see that person through. And I play around with questions like, tell me a time when you've made a mistake. How did you handle it? How did you correct it? Because are you talking about a person who has great experience, but if they make a mistake, they blame it on somebody else? Or if they don't do well, it's always somebody else's fault. Those kind of people can be very toxic in your organization. And 9 times out of 10, it'll put you in a position where you got this great person. They may be a great doctor with great experience. They may be a great restaurant manager with great experience. Maybe they worked at a Michelin star restaurant, but they don't have the right personality traits. And so you end up having to let them go. And it costs money to recruit and train people. So in this chapter, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is talking to us about detecting personality quirks. Okay. The first one, he says some things that you should be cautious about. You want to look into and ask questions. And let me say this. Some people just sit down to interview people and they don't prepare. This is a great guide for helping you to prepare. Not only do you want to be using the STAR method of interviewing, because there's circumstantial type of interviewing, there's situational interviewing, right? There's experience interviewing, there's personality interviewing. So even if you take a person through the Genos method and you uncover their personalities and then you say, well, I'm looking for this kind of person, that doesn't tell you anything. Because see, emotional intelligence can be situational. So here's some things we should be cautioned. Spreading emotional stability questions throughout the interview. Okay, so what you want to do is as you're interviewing and as you're talking to that person about bringing them onto your team, you want to be sussing out their emotional stability. So asking questions like, you know what? Tell us about some of your greatest accomplishments. And then ask them, so how did that make you feel? And who else on the team contributed to that? Tell me about a time when you had to deal with a very difficult team member. How did you handle that? What did you do? Or maybe you give them a scenario. We do this a lot in healthcare. We give them a scenario. We'll say, listen, patient arrives in the office, 84-year-old African-American female, complaining of abdominal pain and has shortness of breath. What do you do? And we give them scenarios. We walk them through. And so you put that kind of pressure on them in an interview so you can see how they'll respond. If you're in a restaurant business, you can say, look, give me an example. You come to work, your hostess has called out, you got a night's full of reservations, you got a full house, you're short in the back of the staff, and everybody's ordering things that take a long time to prepare. How do you handle that? How do you go about solving this problem? Or you have somebody who literally just complains and goes off on you just because you know they don't want to pay for their food. How do you handle that? And you make that person walk you through how they deal with it. That's helping you to suss out some of that emotional stability. Consider the facts in light of the circumstances, nature of the job, working conditions, and so on. So I'll give you an example. We've been working on the Black Muslim Business Directory, and we had certain rules and certain standards initially when I came up with the idea and we put the site together. But because we have not been on top of, we got hacked, and then once we got hacked, we kind of had to rebuild and get all the kinks out. So we've been really working to get it back up. So some of those tough rules, I may have to soften some because we, in fact, have been delinquent. So what am I saying? I'm saying, well, our job working conditions have not been the best. So let's give people a chance. So you have to consider what the conditions are. Okay. Sometimes you may know very well that you got a toxic environment. You may know that you got a cook that got a nasty personality, but he can cook and the food is excellent and it's consistent, but the personality is nasty. So you got to consider the person that you're going to bring in that's going to work with this type of person if that person's a valuable employee. Another caution is don't overemphasize any one point. Evaluate the entire picture. If you know me and you've been around me, worked with me, talked to me at any time, I'm always looking at the entire picture. I don't want to make a partial decision over here. And then there's all this information over there that needs to be factored into my mathematical decision that I'm leaving out. And so I try to make sure that I get my arms around the universe of things before I make a decision. And when I make a decision, I understand the conditions under which I'm making a condition. So if you work with me, if you're an advisor to me, or if just a friend and you give me information about something, I'm not always going to move on that information. And I'm testing to see, is what you're saying true? Is it valid? And that's not to be judgmental of anybody, but I need to know before I make a move based on that information. One of the worst things you can do is make a move on bad information. And so a lot of times when you respect somebody and they come and bring something to you, well, I won't even talk in third person. If I respect someone, they bring information to me, I want to be able to rely on it. I want this person to be somebody who I can calculate in my mind, in my mathematical mind. I can say, when that person comes to me, I know it's solid. Or maybe I say, well, when that person comes to me, I know it don't always be true. But I need to know, but if I respect you, I want to be able to rely on the information. So instead of putting that pressure on you, I'll just ask a series of questions so that I'm clear and I understand. It's just a habit of being a leader that we should all be forming. Okay. The next thing to detect personality traits is to think about their behavior and to observe the behavior. Is the person inflexible? So you want to ask questions even before you bring that person on board. Is this a flexible person or an inflexible person? Does this person refuse to change their work at all? Or is this one of those kind of persons say, I don't care what you say, this is how it's got to be. There's no deviating. And if you deviate, you're an idiot. You know, you get those kind of people. We get those kind of people in a lot of organizations, right? You get it in church where they say, look, Jesus said, boom, ba boom, ba boom. And if you don't follow it like this, you don't believe in Jesus. Like all these extremes, some of this inflexibility. Sometimes we'll say, look, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted it done like this. We have to do it right and exactly like this. Well, when is it time when we make adjustments? Or is there another body of knowledge given to us by Jesus or by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or by our CEO that should be incorporated into this so that we're not making a one-track decision and preventing ourselves from growing? Okay, so being a leader is complicated. You got to think through all these levels of information. The other one says, is this person chronically dissatisfied? Was something wrong with every single thing? Some people are just chronically dissatisfied. They're never satisfied. They're not happy. They don't feel good. And if you search for that in an interview, you can suss some of that out. Then once you determine that the person has this trait that maybe you don't want, now you got to figure out, is it correctable or is it imprinted in their personality. So these are things that you have to know. And let me tell you, if a person is extreme in certain personality traits, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You just got to give them the right tasks or put them in the right job. If you know you got something that is really hard and very difficult, or they're going to have a lot of people coming at them trying to get them to deviate, if you got a strong-willed, stubborn, inflexible person, that might be where you place that person. Okay. But if you're dealing with maybe customer service, maybe with people who are new to the process, maybe people who don't really understand, then you don't really want that person in that position, because they're going to be too rough and too rigid, and they're going to mess up your new people that you're trying to groom and get to come in. If you have an aspect of your company that is maybe artistic or creative, and you have a lot of sensitive people, then maybe that hardcore rigid person isn't the one that you want as their manager. So these are things that as a leader, we have to suss out. This is all part of the science of business, because we think, I can't stress this enough, that we can just open our business and be dark-skinned white people and function like white people and just say, but we're Black. And then what do? We're creating the same interdependencies as the ones that exist in the companies that we're trying to get away from. Okay. Here's another thing to think about. Does the person consider themselves too good for the job? Sometimes we miss this one, because in many, many cases, especially when you're dealing with a lot of religious people, not spiritual people, but religious people, we're afraid. Sometimes religious people are afraid to play full out. They don't really go all out on anything. They don't go for it. Though they put their all into the religion, but then when it comes to the tasks that they're required to do within the religion or within their lives, they don't play full out. They don't play full out because of a number of different things. They're either waiting for somebody else to do it. They believe in a spook God, or they're worried about what somebody else is going to say, or they're waiting for somebody to give them permission to do good. So sometimes they may be put in a task, and what happens with a lot of religious people is we become very pious. And so we think that we're too good for certain things. And we are afraid to let people see us struggle. We're afraid to let people see us work hard. We're afraid to do anything that's going to make us look less than perfect in the eyes of people that we're trying to impress. I'm talking to somebody. Y'all know it. The reason why I bring that up in context to what it's saying here is because this is an impediment we have to work through. Let me tell you something about me. If y'all ain't figured out nothing else, I ain't got no problem with y'all seeing me work hard. I don't care if y'all see me looking tired because I woke up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning and started working on something. I don't care if y'all see me grinding, trying to get a project finished. I don't care if y'all see me praying. I don't even care if y'all see me crying over trying to get a project finished like the Messenger's Museum. Because I am not focused on you. I'm focused on allowing Allah to come through me. And so I'm grinding and struggling to create that alignment and operate in that frequency of authenticity. And then I know that when Allah is able to show himself through me, then it's going to be all good. So I've never been that person where I was afraid to play full out. But a lot of people have to get to the point where they have to struggle a little bit in order for people for them to be okay with people seeing them play full out. But one thing about me, I play full out. A lot of that comes from my personality and always having been different, then I'm okay with being different. I don't really care if you talk about me for being different. Um, I'm just trying to be in submission. But some people, their life is all about, let me be the best within this group, and I don't really want to be anything different. And so they struggle. They struggle, and their safety zone is getting that A on the test. Well, sometimes tests will come to you and they'll be bigger, and maybe they're tests that you have not had a chance to study for. See, when you grow up a good student and you're always studying for the tests and you get all the good grades, you get the A's, the B's, and the A pluses and the A minuses, and you're always passing the test. When you get into the world and something is thrown at you and you don't know what to do, you'll just go away from it. That's the danger of being a smart person. The blessing that I got growing up, being in a lot of gifted programs, is they throw a lot of things at you to teach you how to think. So you learn how to critically think. Most times you could be working in a computer program. You could be trying to fix a car. You could be trying to do anything. And I promise you, a lot of times if I hear about it and I say, you know what, tell me what's going on. Let me take a look at it. I can usually figure out a way and a place to point you in the right direction, because I practice critical thinking. I practice mathematical thinking. So part of my education wasn't always getting the A on the test. It's how well do you think in certain scenarios. Okay. And so even if you bring me on as a coach, I will help you to think through certain scenarios, because in order to be creative, you can't be afraid to think outside the box. You can't be afraid to be out on a limb and have to figure out how to get yourself back to the trunk of the tree. All right, enough on that. The next section is relationships with others. Okay. How do they work with other people? Do they fall on the sword and just say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake in this case. My apologies. This is how I'm going to correct it. Or are they the type that will lie and hide and act like they didn't do anything? Do they use deceptive intelligence to try to feign innocence or to justify their actions? Or are they the type of people that they have a personality that they're very cowardly, so they're making up circumstances and leading up because they really want to quit? So they'll pretend like they don't feel good. They'll pretend like something's wrong in the family, and they start ramping up to that. And then they come to you and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. And then 2 days later, you see them working for somebody else. What kind of personality are you dealing with? I think the best people to have work for you are people that you can dialogue with, that can tell you how things make them feel, what's the best way. Now, they got to be goal-oriented, but that's what you want. You want somebody that's always saying to you, hey, we're off the mark a little bit, or we're dead on, or I think this makes sense. So involving people in the decision-making process is helpful, okay? Here's another one. Does that person resent authority? Do they think it's the man about everything? Do they think somebody's always picking on them? Were they always in trouble growing up? You can suss that out by looking at a person's upbringing. So were they always in trouble growing up? Did they always get punished? Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that they may have a little bit of an issue with authority, especially if they were abused by authority. But there's a place even for that kind of person when you are trying to push against the grain in a particular situation. You may need somebody in a creative environment where you say, you know what, design me a system that will work, and then we're going to go back and figure out how to make sure it's in compliance. And so you need somebody who can push and push back and push against authority. Sometimes your authority in your organization needs some challenge, but that's something that you have to suss out. How How do you deal with inexperienced applicants? That's the next session. So sometimes, and this happens to us a lot in Black organizations, where you just get people and you got bodies and you got to figure out how to make them work. Well, it's good if you're able to suss out their personality quirks. Did they take part in outside school activities? That'll tell you something about them. It'll tell you a little bit about their experience. Did they make friends in school easily? What did they think of their teachers? Some people who got authority issues will say, I hated every one of my teachers, or I didn't even really think about my teacher. I don't know. But when we get a pool of people and we're told we got to work with this pool of people, not only do we have to create the tasks as leaders, we have to figure out what are the personality traits of those people so that we know how to motivate them. Because we may not have the luxury to say, okay, based on Sarah's attributes, I'm going to put her in this task. Based on Abdul's attributes, I'm going to put him in that task. Based on Jenny's attributes, I'm going to put her. You may not have the luxury, right, of task and personality matching. You just may have a bunch of people and you go, okay, this is the list of things I got to get done, and I got to do it with these people. So you got to create a system and a process that will allow them to plug and play. But you also got to know a little bit about the personalities of the people that you're dealing with, excuse me, so that you know how to motivate them and you know how to reach them. Okay, so that you can create a team. And that brings us to this last section of episode 9, or chapter 9, is the 4 steps to teamwork. How do you turn the attention of your individual players towards the group? A lot of people are just individually selfish. They're just out for self. It's their survival mechanism. They're not giving. They're not loving. They may be good at faking it. They may know how to pretend like I like people, but they don't never do nothing nice for nobody. They don't ever call nobody up to say, hey, you know what? I wanted to support you and see how you're doing. One thing about me, I'm very communal and I'm a team person. So if you know me, you know I may call you out the blue and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm proud of you. I just wanted to thank you. Or I may help you and you don't even know it. And I don't necessarily need you to know it. So I'll tell somebody, hey, I want you to start ordering your non-alcoholic wines from Magnolia Crescent. I don't need to call Magnolia Crescent to let them know that I'm promoting them. I don't need that in my own personality unless it's a situation where I want them to know that an order is coming through or the people are going to come there. But I was just talking to a client the other day who's going to be opening a spa. And I said to them, you know what? You should reach out to Magnolia Crescent because they have some great non-alcoholic beverages, wines and champagnes that'll be good for the mixed group crowd that you're going to be working with. And they're very classy. That's just an example. But that's how I am. I'm very communal. I'm not a person who just says, it's all about me. I'm worried about my stuff. This is how I do it. It's just, I wouldn't be doing this or the directory if I wasn't a communal team person and I didn't think about the group. I often think about, even being a Muslim in the nation, my life is tethered with certain people. And so in that tethering, it's just an unconditional love because we can't live with each other and we can't live without each other. That's just how I see it. So we have to support each other. We have to figure it out. We got to figure out how to get along. If we're all walking through the volume of the book, following a man who is following a man who is following a man, we got to figure out how to get along. We got to figure out how to love one another. We got to figure out how to support one another. I got to figure out how to make sure you do well because I want to do well. I'm destined for greatness. I'm destined for massive amounts of abundance and wealth. And I don't want you without. So I'm going to share. I'm going to bring you along. I'm going to do what I can to support. I believe I'm walking through that volume. I want to be in submission. So I want to make sure that I give so that Allah has no problem blessing me, because he knows that if he sits me down next to somebody and deposits something in me, then I'm going to give it to the next person. He can use me to bless somebody else. That's huge. And that's something that I asked Allah for. I remember when I said a prayer to Allah in 2006. I remember where I was. I had a townhouse downtown in Chicago, and I was sitting in the second bedroom where I was just started doing my podcast. And I said, Allah, make me your conduit. Use me to bless other people. Use me to make yourself known. What can I do? How do I need to take care of myself? What kind of person do I need to be? That prayer fit with my personality. Help me to use my empathy and my sensitivity skills. All this that you've deposited in me, help me to use it for your glory. Use me, Lord. And I remember, and then I just start saying that prayer all the time and just walking in that desire. So we have to think about the team. We have to think about nation building. And when you're building a business, it can't be all I, me. You have to relate the individual purpose to the group purpose. So each individual that comes into your organization, respect their purpose. Nobody came in to an organization just to slave for you. They have a purpose, and this is a stop in their journey. And so what you want to do is relate how their purpose ties into the group purpose, or may even enhance the group purpose, but help that person discover their own authenticity. Always do that. Never take away a person's individuality, because they're going to resent you. And then later you're going to get this disengaged staff member, employee member, or whatever. You're going to have a disengaged person on your hand that's going to be costing you the bottom line, and it's going to really impact your ability to reach the goal. Okay, so help them discover their authenticity and show them how their authenticity can tie into the authenticity of the group or the group's purpose. Number 2, keep the group posed on the score. So in other words, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying to us, keep the goal in mind. Okay, if you're in the resurrection business, don't let people forget that you're in the resurrection business. If y'all in the business of making good cheeseburgers, then don't let the people forget, look, we're known for our cheeseburgers. If you're known for your ice cream, if you're known for just giving good hospitality, don't let your team forget, in the midst of all the individual tasks that they have to do, that we have one overall goal, and that's to deliver this particular good or service, product or service, to the community in a certain manner. Okay, so don't forget the big picture. Number 3, relate each individual's job performance to the overall group score. So people have to understand that if they're disengaged, then our score as a group is going to be lower. Okay, if they're lying and stealing, then you're going to reduce the score. If you're abusing people who work for you, you're reducing the group score. You're slowing the group down. If you're evil and cantankerous and you're doing all kinds of things that you should not be doing, that's impacting the interpersonal relationships of the company, and you in essence are changing the overall corporate culture. And now we have a corporate culture that is not ripe for growing the company or moving the company in the direction that we want it to go in. You all remember biology, you got to have the right culture in order for those organisms to survive. And number 4, give the group a part in planning and problem solving. So you want to make sure that sometimes when you're making decisions that you have a little bit of a think tank. I like to meet often with employees. So you should be meeting like monthly and saying, hey, here's our goal. What are some of your ideas? Because you don't know everything. Here's the deal. When you're in a leadership position, you over here trying to tune in to something else. You don't have time to be worrying about certain other things. So bring your group in. They're the ones in the trenches. They're the ones in the field. They can tell you what's going on. They can say, you know what, the people need this or that, or they like doing this or that, or, you know, all of their computers are really slow and they're not working well, so they're not going to be able to do this. You may not know that because you may not be on the floor with them to know that the registers ain't working right or whatever. So this is just part of us digging through the science of business. Make sure that you stay close. Join my mailing list. Make sure you join, because I'm going to have a whole series coming up on the science of business. I've been actually literally writing this for years. And so I'm about ready to release the series, which is then ultimately going to become the book. But the workshop series, the webinar series, you're going to want to be a part of them. They're going to be 2 to 3 hour webinars. They're going to be paid webinars. But if you're serious about business, then literally once a week, 2 to 3 hours, we're going to go through and we're going to create these business scenarios. We're going to talk through all of this kind of stuff and really give a class. And it'll be something that, inshallah, we can record and offer later for people who don't get a chance to participate live. But I personally like doing it where I'm interacting with you all. Somebody was just telling me I'm working with somebody who's helping me put it together. They was like, well, you know, you should just pre-tape it. And I say, yeah, but one of my gifts is being able to feel the audience and adjust my presentation based on, you know, what I'm feeling. And so it's kind of hard for me to just record something without an audience or without a group, without participation, even if it's 4 or 5 people only. Then the way I look at it from a spiritual standpoint is that those 4 to 5 people represent what God wants me to say in that particular space. And so it gives me a way in which I can tweak it. So we'll figure that out. But so stay close. And thank you all for being in the chat today. I see Ronald Robinson. He said he's looking forward to the series. I'm excited about it as well. Brother Ronald also says department evaluation keeps the team on set goals. Yep, that's exactly right. Brother Victor says spend out of what you have given. I see you all coming in. Sister Sandra said greetings to everyone when she came in. She talked about results oriented by any means necessary. Yeah. Regional Sky Girl, maybe you're back. I don't know, but safe travels. Welcome, welcome. So yes, you guys, tune in tomorrow. The Father of Black Consciousness, that's going to be our series. If you are a Black Muslim business, go to the Black Muslim Business Directory, cruise around there, look and see. We got some good businesses in our nation. We have over 300 businesses listed on our directory. And if you are a paid member of the directory, you're going to get a big discount on the Science of Getting Rich. Science of Getting Rich. That's a good series. I did that series a while ago. It's interesting. I did a series when I first started blogging on the Science of Getting Rich based on the book written by Wallace D. Wattles. But I'm talking about the science of business. You're going to get a big discount on this big webinar series that's coming up. So if you're a paid member of the directory, if you're in the directory, even if you're not paid and you've claimed your space, you're going to get a discount as well. It won't be as big as the paid members, but you're going to get a discount as well. So anybody who's listed in the directory, participating, those 300 and something people are going to get a discount on the upcoming webinar that's coming up. And we encourage you to, to go there, to study, to look and see who's there, what services you can utilize, reach out to people, be patient with people. There's so much going on now about, let me speak on this a little bit. And I won't even say it specifically. I'm going to do it generally. So much going on now with people going into to the businesses and giving their feedback, right? And I think a lot of times we become very black and white when it comes to this kind of thing. And what I mean by that, 2 things can be true at once, you guys. When I go to a restaurant, there are certain standards that I expect. I'm going there. I'm giving you my hard-earned money. I do expect that you should provide me with the right service. I expect the food to be good, clean, fresh, and whatever other expectations. I like real food. I don't like fake food. So I have certain expectations. Okay. And if you hang your shingle and say that you're selling food, you should meet those standards. The other side of that is that the restaurant business is a very hard business. It's a very difficult industry. And you can't just say to a Black person, well, you shouldn't go in it if you ain't ready. Because maybe they checked all the boxes and they thought they were ready, but then certain things start hitting them. And I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest challenges that happens in business is you're ready. You might be smart. You might have the experience. You might have the money. But the dishonesty of the people that you employ and that you serve can be one of the biggest impediments to your success. So people inside of your organization taking up resources because they're not being honest, they're stealing time, they're not cooking properly, they're doing all kinds of, inconsistent services, whatever, stealing supplies. So there's that. Then there's people who sit down in your restaurant who don't want to pay for their food and they want to complain. I was out to dinner just yesterday and we were literally sitting next to two women who complained about everything the entire time until the manager said, well, I'm just going to take this off of your bill. And you could tell that's what they wanted to do. And there were manager after manager that just kept coming over there. They gave them samples like, hey, well, let me give you a few other items. And they tasted it, they sampled it. That kind of stuff can really hurt your business, especially if you're a small business. Maybe a bigger restaurant, it may not be that bad. So here's the thing. Anybody who gives us correction or makes a suggestion to us, we can't go off on them. We have to say, you know what? Yeah, that's true. That happened. I can do better. But those of us that are giving the criticism, let's be mindful of how we give it and make sure we're not off code. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to stop wanton criticism of everything Black. Okay. And a lot of us will go sit up in a white restaurant and keep trying and keep going over and over and over and over again. And the food be nasty. It ain't real. We'll go sit down in a restaurant and just eat plastic and not say anything. But if somebody Black serve us some plastic, oh, we got a problem. Oh, this restaurant ain't good. Let me get on the internet. Let me say something about them. Let me dog them out. I'm going to tell everybody I know that they serving plastic. Well, you just ate the white man's plastic last week. You've been eating the white man's plastic. Now, I'm not saying, again, two things can be true at once. I'm not saying that as a Black person, you should even be serving people plastic. I'm just using that as an example. Don't be off code. Give your people a chance. Follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's instructions. Stop wanton criticism of everything Black. Stop it. Yes, you can evaluate the restaurant. You can say, I know Black food critics here in Chicago that when they go to Black restaurants, if it's not good, they just don't put it on their website. But if it's good, they say something about it. They put it on their website. So they make sure that they're not cutting down or hurting somebody's dreams. Some places you go, I'm gonna give you another example. When I go down south to Baton Rouge, my cousin, she know all the hole in the wall places. We went to a place one time, she pulled over on the side of the road and we walked up to a shack. I kid you not, in Louisiana, outside of Baton Rouge, it was a shack. And whatever the woman in there who was serving had, she said, I'll take 2 plates. I didn't know what it was. I had already fixed my mind, like I'm probably not going to eat it, but I'm not getting ready to get on the internet and dog the Black woman in there who's serving out of the shack because everybody lined up to get the food. When I tell you it was a shack, it was a shack. You probably couldn't fit no more than 2-3 people in there. And she had a bunch of plates. People was lined up outside. They said her food was so damn good. It happened to be a lot of food that I don't eat. There was pork on there. There was lima beans, things that we don't eat as Muslims. But when I tell you it looked good, it smelled good, and it looked like everybody else liked it. I'm not getting ready to get out and start dogging them people. Yeah, now you shouldn't be eating this or you shouldn't be eating that. That sister was providing the service. Did she have tables? No. Was it off the side of the road? Yes. Was I uncomfortable about eating it? Yes. But I'm not going to criticize her. See, we got to soften your heart a little bit when it comes to your people. And I get it. Some people, we got people out here that got jobs as food critics and things like that. But there's a code. And if you're a food critic, let me tell you what I will do. Because I'm a business owner. As a business owner, if I go into a business and they're Black, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go in and introduce myself and congratulate them for their business. If they're so off point with something, then I'm going to pull them to the side and say something. I can't tell you how many times I've benefited from being in business because some other person, Black or white, pulled me to the side and said, hey, you see this right here? You probably shouldn't do this. Or did you know that your employee right there was doing X, Y, Z? I said, no, I didn't know that. Okay. And I was able to correct it before somebody got on the daggone internet and talked about me like a dog about it. And like I said, two things can be true at once. So I'm not criticizing the person who was the critic, nor am I criticizing the restaurant. What I'm saying is we all got to do better. We all got to be more intentional about how we deal with one another. So you won't find me necessarily dogging out other Black people in business because it's hard. And we got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere. And then when we start our businesses, we got to do better. No doubt about it. But don't come talking smack to me when you've been going down the street eating that garbage for your whole entire life. Now, did I advertise that I was serving better food than them? Probably not. Everybody, the white man's ice is not colder, y'all. It's ice. It's just ice. So don't come down here criticizing my ice when you've been buying their ice, and I might have cuter packaging for my ice. It might have been harder for me to get the ice. You may say, well, I don't care. And everybody subscribes to this thing where business ain't emotional. It don't really matter. Business is absolutely emotional. And if you say that, you're lying. You have an emotional reason for being in business. You ain't just in business because you this big time person and you in business for an emotional reason. Because if the emotion wasn't there, you just sit your butt at home or go work a little job and not really care. So business is absolutely emotional, but what kind of emotion? How do we use the emotion? Is it irrational? Is it delusional? It can't be that, but it's still emotional. It's emotional if I run out of paper towels in the middle of my big night of serving people and I got to make a decision. Okay, let me run down the street to Target and get some more paper towels. That's a quick. You may say, well, that's not an emotional decision. Yes, it is, because something had to motivate me. Some emotion had to motivate me to go do it. Maybe it's just my desire to please the people. Maybe it's just my desire to make money. And I know I need paper towels to make money. Maybe it's just my desire to do that. But there's emotion there. It's just, what do you do with the emotion? So, so miss me with that. Let's be careful, okay? Stay on code, people. Stay on code. And I'm going to tell you this. Don't go in front of non-family members and talk about family members. Let's get back to that. Okay. If you got to go and say something to that business like, hey, I'm a food critic and I was going to give you guys, if I had to rate you all today, I'd give you a bad rating. And so here's a few things that I think you should improve. And how about I'll come back next week. Now, if they curse you out and tell you and get ignorant with you, then that's different. But I bet you they won't. I bet you they won't. I bet you they'll say, oh, you know what? Thank you. Come back next week. They'll give you a free meal. They'll hook you up. That's what I would do. Hey, I'm a food critic. And if I had to rate y'all today, probably wouldn't be too good. So I'm going to try it next week. Stop being so emotional. Well, I give my hard-earned money. You give your hard-earned money to them people who serving you plastic and food that ain't even real. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox about that. But okay, family. I will see you all, inshallah, tomorrow on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Table Talks, Facebook and YouTube, live with the NOI Archives, Brother Abdul, Student Imam Abdul Salam, and Student Imam Sultan Rahman Muhammad. Peace and blessings, family. And next week, don't forget, we have a powerful Mind of an Entrepreneur show. It's going to be called Life After Rape, Unraveling America's Sexual Subculture, based on the book written by Shalon Lucas Muhammad. You don't want to miss it. See you soon. Don't chip and dip me. Y'all see the Cash App? Oh, wait a minute. I took it off the bottom so y'all could see earlier. But y'all see that? Don't chip and dip me. We're giving out good information here, good corporate information that you normally would have to pay a lot of money for. All right. Peace and blessings. Love you all.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost.